Secret Tub Fun series. Several short stories about each of the characters bathing. Really better than it sounds. What separates? Being exactly what it says on the tin, this fic is a great philosophical examination of the culture clash that would happen if humanity and Equestria ever met face to face. Many good points are brought up and discussed in an extensive but clear way, leading to an extremely solid character interaction and development. This is the sort of fic that will have you thinking quite a bit after you read it, and I couldn't recommend it more than I already do.
Rorschach in Equestria. Synopsis: instead of being killed in the cold Antarctic by Dr. Manhattan, Rorschach finds himself rematerialized in a strange, new, pony-filled world. He finds himself drawn into the lives of the ponies in Ponyville, but some ponies fear that this sociopath will bring danger and darkness to an otherwise peaceful existence. Will the main six help Walter Kovac find peace within himself, or will he bring them all down with him in his cold views of reality and existence?
Allegrezza, pairing Octavia and Final Scratch. Octavia, Canterlot's foremost musician, finds herself in a less that dignified nightclub looking for a drink after her usual place alters its schedule. After her love of whiskey gets the better of her, a certain white unicorn DJ takes her home for the night. Along with the Vinyl Scratch tapes, this massive fic is the biggest thing written about Vinyl and Octavia, both in terms of size and popularity. Having multiple pieces of fan art and fan music dedicated to it, it's one of the Brony community's finer achievements. If you're going to read anything from this list, read this one.
Bittersweet. Follows the aftermath of Pinkie Pie dying from diabetes. That's terrible.
End of Ponies. A horrible cataclysm has turned all of Equestria into a wasteland of barren ash and twilight desolation. The sun and the moon have been destroyed. Every pony has died, including Princesses Luna and Celestia. But one pony miraculously survives. She is a lone wanderer, the last of her kind, surrounded by menacing creatures that hate her. She navigates the wastes in an airship and scavenges off the blighted landscape to keep herself alive.
Prince Charming. Synopsis. Oh my god. After the disaster of meeting Prince Blueblood, Rarity is done looking for the special pony to be her prince. So she decides to put her sewing skills to good use and make the perfect one of her own design. Warning: gore and grimdark.
Princess texts Celestia. At the suggestion of one of her guards, Princess Celestia gets a cell phone to make contacting her easier. Needless to say, access to text messaging also leads to the phone being used for other things.
Equestria, total war. Synopsis: war comes to Equestria with despair, with starvation, with suffering, and with sacrifice. And the ponies must learn how to keep true to their values while surviving not just the rigors of battle, but the desolation of total war.
Of Mares and Magic, pairings Trixie and Twilight, also contains Dash and Pinkie, Fluttershy and Derpy, Lyra and Bonbon, and Vinyl and Octavia, but those aren't important to the plot.
Romance reports. Synopsis: the highest rated completed story on FIM fiction as of this writing, and with good reason. Twilight Sparkle has a crush on Princess Luna, but Luna has had many lovers over the years, and Twilight needs to learn a thing or two before Luna will even give her a chance. What follows is a story with love, lust, warmth, heartbreak, and just about every other emotion evoked by that crazy thing called love. Mature audiences only, but very much not born without plot.
Moonrise, the first part of an ongoing 350,000 word, to date, epic starring Luna, one of the best OCs in the fandom, an extremely AU main 6 and general world, as well as plenty of dry humor, romance, and action. Be warned, it's dark in Moonrise, grimdark in Lunar Lights, and yet more so in Starlit Nights, which the author promises will become even more dark in coming arcs.
A terrible secret. Synopsis: Rainbow Dash has an embarrassing secret that's just waiting to come out, and for once it has nothing to do with shipping. Yeah, we'll see about that.
Order from Chaos. Yes, I know, it's a Sonic crossover, but it truly is a beautiful story. It's more of a villain redemption story, and isn't at all what you would expect.
Spike's sexual revolution. Synopsis: rampant lesbianism is threatening the future of the Ponyville population, so Luna is given the task of making girls like colts by getting Spike to have sex with them. It's, better than it sounds. Seriously.
When the apple bloomed. Comments? This is a nice story involving two kids exploring their bodies, in this case Apple Bloom and Spike. This is technically a clopfic, since there are explicit scenes between the two, but this is eventually dropped once the pregnancy storyline kicks off.
Arden Leeuwad. A human in Equestria fic, where the protagonist and Luna fall in love. Yes, it is better than it sounds. In other words, it's a story of one Chester dropped into an odd fairy tale world who eventually finds some pony who needs him and loves him. Then things get sour. See you in the sequel. The premise may seem unappealing, but this is really excellent work of literature, with great writing, worth checking out for this alone, and averting the typical obnoxious, psychologically improbable protagonists. It succeeds at making you feel a strong emotion or two. On the other hand, it is primarily about a human and a horse in love, and while nothing explicit ever happens, the descriptions of their contacts are essential enough to make one uncomfortable under the collar. Arden Leeuwad 2. Chwe Goledao, 6 lights. The sequel to the above, it's an epic adventure horror romance story. Luna and Chester face a horrendous manipulative villain who is threatening Equestria and eventually everything else with something far worse than mere conquest. Like its predecessor, it's quite a stellar piece of literature, and it's just the draft version. Had the author had time to polish it before he decided to leave the fandom, it might have been one of the best looking fanfics ever written. However, be warned, it's very grimdark, and halfway through turns into essentially an endless stream of tearjerker and high-octane nightmare fuel. Also, there are still sensual descriptions of the, still non-explicit, romantic contacts which might make you uneasy.
Romance reports. Synopsis: the highest rated completed story on FIM fiction as of this writing, and with good reason. Twilight Sparkle has a crush on Princess Luna, but Luna has had many lovers over the years, and Twilight needs to learn a thing or two before...